Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the May 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Finance Committee. Thank you all for the meeting. Well, first I'm gonna pull a roll where the Chris go?
Just step down for a minute. I don't
Okay.
know where that is.
He's right behind
Oh, yeah, there it is.
He's watching this.
All right.
Want to sit? Get back and sit.
Hello. Hello. Yeah.
Nice to see you. Michael, can I ask you to do the minutes for me? All right, I'm just gonna call the roll and Laura Bedford.
Here.
Paulette Vernick, I see.
Here,
Tony Burrows. Here. Cookie Courier, I don't see. David Furness.
Here.
Richard Hamilton.
Here.
Suzanne Saramac. She said she would be joining later, so I'm gonna leave her up in the air. Julius Silbiger, not present. And Michael Zaslin.
Here.
Fausto Fabro.
Here.
I'm here.
Suzanne is here.
Suzanne is here. Oh, there she is. Suzanne, can you hear us? No, she's trying to log in. David Boaz.
Here.
Trisha Caputo. Dominic Renacchia.
Here.
Stuart Richland.
Here.
And Jerry Secretary. All perfect. And Donald Forster.
He's always
With us. All right, thank you all for coming. I'm gonna close this door. We've got some boisterous. Folks outside. All right, I hope you all have the agenda. As we're going through this, if you would take a look at the minutes and let me know if there's anything that looks amiss. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I wrote to accept the minutes.
Thank you, and Tony, thank you. All right, old business. Hi Suzanne, can you hear us okay? No, she's still having.
yes.
Okay.
Um.
I had hoped that Julius was gonna join us today, but I guess he had business elsewhere. He had been doing some looking around and searching and, you know, getting the scoop on how do we acquire the tax certificates, because the next thing that we need to do is to actually, now that the South Canal is pretty much taken care of and the project is on its way, it has a life of its own, a budget of its own. We, the finance committee, don't have to worry about the South Canal. The North Canal, however, is, you know, part of our drainage system, and it has to, in order for us to protect this whole village, including Mike. We need to get both canals attended to. No maintenance has ever been done on the North Canal. It's getting very overgrown and it potentially could cause a lot of problems. So the first thing is we, you know, our legal counsel for WPRF and Rod Tennyson have done extensive research on what's needed. And right now, there are actually sections of that canal that no one owns. If you go to the tax assessor's office, there's a big blank. They can't pull them up. You look at them on the map and every other part.
Refer to that, okay.
Excuse me, Suzanne, can you mute yourself?
Oh, sorry.
There's a lot of background.
Oh,
Okay. So if you look, no one owns these, so we have to get tax certificates issued. That's step one. So that someone can own them. Then it has to go to an auction. And who would want them but us? There's nobody over there that wants them. I mean, there's basically just several parcels of land of people that, you know, are not doing anything over there. So that's sort of the first step, is that we have to acquire the tax certificates. And Julius has done some work on that, and he is supposed to be sending me the documents to go ahead and file and process, but I don't have them in hand at the moment, so maybe by next month I will have more. You know, to report back to you on as far as, you know, what we've done, so that's the old business I just wanted to address quickly. And before we go any further, I want to introduce Chris Shepherd, who is our chief cook and bottle washer for all things accounting and finance, and he takes care of all our dollars and cents. So with that, Chris has, what I attached to every agenda here is, and I sent to everybody, is our current operating, it says draft, but it is actually the signed copy that of the budget that we are operating under today. And then Chris has prepared what he feels is a more efficient way of presenting a budget. In the attached second document. And I'll let Chris go ahead and sort of give you a little bit of an overview of why he thinks some changes should be made.
All right, basically the new proposed budget format just takes us back to the way we used to do it. The format was changed by the previous treasurer, and I feel like it was a little confusing. It required a lot of page flipping to really follow along with it. And the old format we had absolutely no issues, wasn't broken, but some people feel the need to reinvent the wheel sometimes. So we're just going back to what it was. There's not a whole lot of new items on here. I noticed the reserve schedule. I don't think the reserve schedule printed out, but there is a reserve schedule with this as well. It follows along the same format as the old budget. So
There's a whole other subject, reserve schedule.
correct. Yeah, but it's usually just part of this. So but yeah, this makes it a little bit easier. We've got all of our large contractual things on page 1. Our general expenses on page 2, and then we go to our other income and expense on page 3. It's very straightforward, very simple. It's only 3 pages. Any questions about this format or the intention behind it? Sorry.
I like that we have the previous budget stated in the first line. And I would suggest on the 4th line on the first page, when it says administration and town salary.
That's good, like, this is the old one, that's the old one.
Oh, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, all right, it's on the second page.
Correct.
Donald put in a lot of time and effort in becoming an L plan. And I believe that the bylaw states that it must be an L plan. I would suggest putting an L in front of him.
Don't mind that at all. I think that's a good suggestion.
I think it's just cleaner and much more concise.
Yeah, and it's still very much a working budget. I invite everyone to go through it, fine tooth comb. If you see any errors, please let me know. This is the time frame to fix them before October.
And that kind of brings me to my next topic, which is I'm hoping that in June and July, I can schedule some town hall meetings at the clubhouse the way we used to. And gonna ask Chris to attend and I'm hoping to get, Sebastian is just not available. I had hoped that we would, but he just isn't available at this time. So I'm trying to find someone else, and I think I've narrowed it down, but I can't announce it yet till we have a engagement letter. So that we have another budget consultant that we can bring in and work with us and with Chris to help put together a real community budget. I want input from around the village. I think what we need to propose for next year, for 2025, is to do a reserve study, a true community reserve study, because the 3 and 4 story buildings by law have to have one. And I think that we want to look at, get a couple of bids in to do a community study, our roadways, this building, the other parcels we own, Yuko owns. Let's find out, you know, what do we need to do? What kind of reserves do we need to fund? What's the condition of them? Get a true engineering look at what we own and what our reserves ought to be, because I don't think one's been done. I don't know, I don't see any evidence of engineers coming in and doing an engineered reserve study. I think a lot of accountants have had their thumbs in the pie over many years. I'm not pointing to any individual or any, I just think that for many years, you know, whoever's the current accountant or the current treasurer has an opinion that people agree with. Well, I personally have no opinion on the matter. My opinion is, let's get an engineer and get it done professionally. Because that seems to be the way the state of Florida is directing associations, condo associations to go. So I think we, you know, need to lead the charge on that, and hopefully it'll sort of set the precedent around the community that this is the way we should be doing business. Not a bunch of opinions, well, I think we should put 50,000 for this, and I think we should put 20,000 for that, you know, and hope that you get it, you know, hope that it's right.
And do we have a laundry list of the things that we want the reserve study to cover?
That's what I'm looking to get from a consultant.
Okay.
There are a couple of companies that do just that, all over the country, all over the world, I mean.
Yeah.
And there's one in particular, that Donald and I have looked into. And I'm gonna get a quote from them to do a reserve study for the community. And when we'll find out, and we'll put that in our budget, I mean, we'll have hopefully a budgeted item for whatever it costs to have that reserve study done. And had it fully funded, and then we'll have. I want a financial consultant to help us work with getting that budget done, work with Chris. So on the day-to-day basis, Chris knows what to do to take care of all that. And how do we fund what the engineers say we need done? So it may sound like a whole lot of people coming in, but really just shows them. David.
I agree on 2 fronts. One, you know, it's an aging infrastructure.
Yes.
Community is getting older and things are gonna pop up that we didn't expect. And this should show us through the study. The second part of what I'd like is a really well-prepared reserve study is also a cookbook of what you could do this year, the next year,
That's
the
exactly
year
it.
after.
That's why I'm
You know, the road to be done this
Exactly.
year. It's coming up, you know,
That's,
and the 2 things together, it's a
Yes.
no-brainer.
and that's
No matter
what.
what it costs, get it done right.
That's what Sebastian used to do.
Yep.
So we're gonna, and then along with that, I'm putting on for a financial advisor to help us with the budget. Work with a reserve study, help us with the budget and give us some expertise about cash utilization. Because, yeah, I could say, well, I'll go here and get this, I'll go here and get that, I'll go here and get another. I don't wanna do. I want some, you know, a credentialed professional to tell us the best way to utilize our cash in the safest possible way, according to our bylaws. You know, we all have opinions and that's great. It's wonderful. We're all interested. I do think that we should make decisions, however, based on credentialed professionals. If no one wants me to do it that way, I'll just keep taking guesses like everybody else. I'll be happy to do that on your behalf. But my own personal recommendation is that we use credentialed professionals going forward so that we don't have any missteps. You know, this, now, my next, which isn't on this so much, but hurricane season is coming in a few days, and we want to be financially prepared for hurricane season. This is starting, you know, as we go through the next couple of meetings, we're gonna be looking at those kinds of issues. So just to let you know that, you know, it kind of snuck up on me because I've had a few other things. But hopefully next month, I'm gonna have more material on where we are as far as, you know, hurricane preparedness financially and what contracts there are in place with what vendors, just so that everyone is aware, you know, that we've looked at those things. Other than that, open a suggestion. Donald.
Real quick, I see Rabbi Matz has signed in.
Mhm.
And Rabbi is the part that he's interested in as far as this meeting,
Mhm.
I think you missed it.
Okay,
Rabbi, can you hear us?
I'm here, yes, I'm here.
Glad you're here. Listen, I think you signed in, we treated the North Canal issue before you signed on, so I think we're gonna rehash it now just to keep you up. You want me to take it?
yeah, if you will.
Alright, so committee, what we have going on at North Canal is when you click on pop-up and you see who owns the strip, nothing comes up. It's the only place in Palm Beach County I was able to find that. And that strip of no man's land extends from Haverhill Hill Road all the way to the turnpike. So that's a sticky problem that Joanne was explaining to you earlier. There's also the issue of 6 parcels that line the canal that are owned by defunct entities, companies that no longer exist. And that's where the tax certificates lie. So the first step to rehabilitating this canal and specifically the footbridge that crosses the canal is we're gonna have to get ownership of it. It's connected to our storm drain system. This is a critical system for Century Village, but we can't spend all the money on this canal unless we own it.
Right.
So where we're at right now is the very beginning, which is to acquire those tax certificates, which will, I guess, lead to an auction.
Right.
And then hopefully ownership.
Right.
And then we move from there. Rabbi, did you have any questions for the committee that you'd like to bring? Incidentally, Rabbi Matz works for Agudath Israel. This is an umbrella organization of Jewish organizations in the state of Florida. He was asked to advocate for Congregation Anshe Shalom, and specifically about the footbridge that, as you know, we closed down some years ago because it's falling apart. So that's why he's here. So Rabbi, I hope I introduced you correctly, and if you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. I appreciate that you invited me to the meeting, and I hear what you're saying. I think these are really important issues, technical issues that need to be resolved. And I'm willing to offer my help, as I mentioned when we spoke on the phone also, that I have many relationships in the government area, including with our state senator that represents your district. And if there's anything we can do to expedite the process or to facilitate the process, I'm here and available to be of assistance in any way I can, because it really would be a huge benefit to the community if that gets resolved, in particular before the season again starts and people start coming in and want to be able to make use of that area.
Of course. sorry, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, thank you, Rabbi. We want you, you're welcome to attend this meeting or anyone else who has an interest in the project. We have these meetings once a month.
I appreciate that very much. I really do.
We'll get there. That's all I got.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, anybody else?
Where the community that's north of the North Canal. Do they have any say, any input, any influence? I understood that they drained into canal. Am I totally off? That might have some bearing here, yes, but we're not even close to that point.
Yes.
And we were talking about, what I would say is about $1 million project. But before we can even look at it, and also this bridge, right, which is extra, we're gonna have to own the property. It's that simple. So we're expecting you, the finance committee, to help us with getting these steps done.
Yeah.
Right?
And it just for the sake of realistic expectations, there are some timetables that are involved with the avenue that we're going down, where you buy the tax certificate, which basically is buying the debt from the county.
Yeah.
You get it by bidding on how much interest you're gonna charge on that debt. The lowest interest gets the tax certificate, but then you have to wait to redeem it. You can't just turn right around and say, I own the certificate and I want to redeem it, and I believe it's a couple of years before you can request to redeem your certificate and get your interest, which is the trigger, which pushes you into a tax sale. So I think just for the sake of the rabbi and his comment of trying to get it for this next season.
Well, we've made it clear, David, that Rabbi asked me, what I think the timeline is. Well, Rabbi, at least a year. You know, I don't want to sugarcoat this. This is going to be a long, complicated process.
Yes.
As far as this first step goes of acquiring these tax certificates, we do have a set of instructions from our attorney.
Great.
It's just a matter of somebody here taking the bull by the horns and just getting that done. And frankly, I just don't have the time for it.
Okay.
But we'll proceed with.
Yeah.
Oh, going in the right direction, and there's just limitations that the county
Sure.
and the system has that it's
Sure.
pretty hard for us to own.
And then the next is gonna be to do the engineering.
Exactly.
I mean, once we own it.
Right.
and start looking at the costs
Oh, yeah.
and, if there's anything standing in our way, if there's any problems with it, or, the engineering would then be the next thing.
You also have to bring this to the delegate assembly, because then you're gonna expend.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's not,
Yeah.
just can't.
Buying these tax certificates, by the way, it's just a few $100s. As far
Yeah,
as the,
I
From my
understand that, but
Yeah.
engineer studies and things like
absolutely,
that.
that all has to go
It's not
to,
up to just to this committee, it's
No,
up to the,
but it's up to us to present it to the. Assembly.
obviously.
And that's why we're trying to take it one step at a time with exactly what the process is to get there. And, my whole motivation is that our drainage is complete and maintained. Because right now, after 50-some years, it's not maintained. Because to me, I mean, it's one thing to say, well, let's just do this. But you gotta put a mechanism in place. We did that with the South Canal. We have it, we're gonna, the maintenance is guaranteed by contract. So I wanna get the North Canal to go along with it. And crazy,
Look, that North Canal drains off half of the property.
yeah,
I would say, just by eyeballing it, that canal has lost 50% of its capacity to absorb stormwater.
Yeah.
So I've already seen on major weather events where the canal becomes full, and the water is backing up the storm drains and coming out, the storm drain basins. Times that by 10, you might see associations get flooded and claims associated with that. So it's tricky. This thing is connected to our system. That system is critical. And it has to be addressed one way or the other. it's just, one step at a time, and this is the baby step we're at right now.
Paulette,
I pull it.
do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two questions. One is, I heard Donald say that he's very busy and he cannot take on this project. Who is going to take on this project, or do we need to hire somebody to in fact do that? What is your recommendation?
Well, Julius, unfortunately, isn't with us today, but he had done a lot of legwork on this already. And he was at the point, when I last spoke with him, he was at the point of being able to turn it over and just literally, get a few checks written out and sign in to a system. So I think we're very close to having this step completed.
I'm sorry, having what completed?
Having this project, this point in the process, I believe like step one is almost done. So
Okay, and who is going to be shepherding this whole process?
I will.
Okay, all right, okay,
And I'll be reporting back, and as we go along, each step, I will let the committee know where we're at. Because after this, I'll have another step, and then after that, there's gonna be a couple more. And then we go to
Okay.
assembly with a proposal, so.
I appreciate you stepping forward and taking the leadership role. And for me, at any time when it is becoming consuming a lot of your own personal time, as one board member on the finance committee, I would have no problem if we hired somebody to in fact do this.
I think there's a point that's gonna come that that'll be necessary, but
Okay.
at this moment, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. And then my other question is not on this topic, goes back to something else that was on the agenda earlier. I can wait to the end, or I can bring it up now.
I think we're done with the canal, are we? No, you can bring it up now, that's fine.
Okay, do you need a motion to place into the budget to hire a professional to do the reserve study for us?
Donald, I don't think we do at this point because I don't have a proposal.
Yes, I mean, we literally just made contact this morning for that.
Okay,
I made the recommendation for a firm last night. So
okay, so it'll come back at a future time so that we can put it in the budget that'll come to the delegate assembly in October?
let's get it into the minutes now, so that we need to have a proposal for you, hopefully by the next meeting.
Yeah.
How's it?
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
I'll work on it now, won't see.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
My pleasure.
Doesn't that proposal have to go through officers and executive committee?
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
I mean, I gotta see what it looks like first, and then,
But yes,
Okay,
I would imagine, yeah, but. They're not gonna do it for free, let's put it that way. So depending on the size,
yeah, it's more the time schedule that
Yeah.
possess.
yeah. But that's it. Any good and welfare? Any more discussion? Anything else we can do to help anybody understand? I will entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Or else I can live.
Thank you, thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Have a good day, everybody.
how you started?
Michael, can you say your number again?
And now.
Say so.
Thank you.